Have you ever blurted out something in anger, frustration, or carelessness, only to feel an instant wave of regret? Maybe it was during an argument with a loved one, a heated conversation with a coworker, or even a thoughtless joke that landed the wrong way. You didn't mean for it to cause harm, but the moment those words left your mouth, they took on a life of their own. No amount of apology could fully erase their impact. Words are like arrows. Once released, they cannot be taken back. And history is filled with the ruins of relationships, shattered reputations, and lost opportunities, all because of a few reckless sentences spoken in a moment of weakness. But here's the question: if words are this powerful, why do we use them so carelessly? The truth is, this isn't a new problem. Long before social media, long before viral tweets and public scandals, King Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, gave us a dire warning. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Proverbs 18 verse 21. Not influence. Not just impact. Life and death. Let that sink in. Your words don't just communicate your thoughts, they create reality. They shape your relationships, define your reputation, and even determine the course of your future. Words can build a person up, or they can destroy them completely. And yet, in a world where everyone is in a hurry to have their say, where words fly faster than ever through texts, tweets, and conversations, how often do we actually stop and think before we speak? What if I told you that the way you use your words today could either set you on the path to wisdom, success, and divine favor, or lead you toward regret, destruction, and brokenness? In this video, we're going to dive deep into the ancient wisdom of Solomon and unlock the secrets to mastering your words. You will discover why your words hold the power to bring life or destruction, how reckless speech can ruin your future, and how to prevent it. Biblical strategies to control your tongue before it controls you. By the end of this message, you won't just understand the power of words, you will have the tools to harness them for good. Because if you don't learn to control your tongue will control you. Are you ready to discover Solomon's life-changing wisdom? Then stay with me, because what you're about to hear might just transform your life forever. The power of words. 3 Bible stories that will change the way you speak. 1. The wisdom of Solomon, a life or death decision. 1 Kings 3 verses 16 to 28. It was a case unlike any other. A situation so tense that even the most experienced judges would struggle to make a decision. 2 women, both desperate, both pleading, stood before King Solomon, each claiming to be the mother of the same baby. Their voices trembled with emotion, their faces streaked with tears, their bodies weary from days of bitter dispute. No witnesses, no evidence, just their words against each other. The court fell silent as Solomon, a young but already renowned king, sat on his throne, listening intently. This was a moment that would test his wisdom, a moment that would define his legacy. The tension in the air was suffocating. His advisors exchanged uneasy glances. The people gathered in the royal court whispered in hushed voices. How could anyone possibly determine the truth? Then, in an act that stunned everyone, Solomon called for a sword. The guards hesitated, uncertain whether they had heard correctly. A sword? What was the king planning? Cut the baby in 2, Solomon commanded, his voice steady, unwavering. Give half to one woman and half to the other. Gasps filled the room. The mother's cries turned into sobs of horror. The tension cracked like a thunderclap. Would he really go through with it? And then, in a moment of sheer anguish, one of the women stepped forward. No, my lord, she pleaded. Give the baby to her. Just don't kill him. The other woman, standing rigid and cold, shrugged. Fine, she said indifferently. If I can't have him, neither can she. Divide him. That was all Solomon needed to hear. He rose from his throne and pointed to the first woman. Give the child to her, he declared. She is the true mother. A wave of awe rippled through the court. In that moment, Solomon proved why he was called the wisest king who ever lived. He didn't need evidence or lengthy arguments. He discerned the truth from the words that were spoken, from the emotions that were revealed. This was the power of words. They were not merely sounds or sentences. They exposed the heart. Words have a way of revealing who we truly are. But they also have the power to shape our destiny. One moment of uncontrolled speech, one careless sentence spoken in anger, pride, or fear, can change everything. And no story proves that more tragically than the story of Moses. The second story, a moment of anger that cost him everything. Moses lost the chance to enter the Promised Land. Numbers 20:10-12. Moses had been chosen by God to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, to deliver them from slavery, to bring them to the Promised Land. He had seen miracles beyond human comprehension, the Red Sea parting before his eyes, manna falling from heaven, water springing forth from barren rock. He had spoken with God directly, received divine instruction, carried the sacred tablets of the 10 Commandments. But despite all of that, despite his faithfulness and leadership, Moses lost his chance to enter the land he had spent his life journeying toward, all because of a single moment of frustration, a single outburst of words. The Israelites were complaining again. They were thirsty, restless, doubting. They had seen God's provision time and time again, yet here they were, grumbling, demanding water, questioning whether God was truly with them. Moses, exhausted and angry, approached the rock where God had told him to speak. But instead of obeying, instead of remaining calm, Moses let his emotions take control. "Listen, you rebels," he shouted, his voice filled with frustration. "Must we bring you water out of this rock?" And instead of speaking to the rock as God had instructed, he struck it twice. Water gushed forth. The people drank, their thirst quenched. But something much deeper had just happened, something irreversible. God's voice came, not in approval, but in judgment. "Because you did not trust me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this assembly into the land I give them." The words must have struck Moses like a blow. Decades of leadership, a lifetime of obedience. And now, in one rash moment, it was all taken away. Moses had spoken in anger. He had made it seem as though he, not God, had the power to provide. He had let his emotions dictate his words, and those words carried consequences. How often do we do the same? How many doors have we closed? How many relationships have we damaged? How many opportunities have we lost? Simply because we let our frustration, our pride, or our impatience control our speech. The third story. Peter denies Jesus 3 times. Peter, the bold disciple, the one who had sworn to Jesus, "Even if all fall away, I never will." Peter, the one who had drawn his sword in the garden to defend his master. Peter, the one who walked on water, if only for a moment, because his faith was strong. But now, the night was heavy. The torches flickered in the courtyard of the high priest. Jesus had been arrested. The disciples had scattered. Fear gripped the air like an iron vice. Peter hovered near the fire, trying to remain unseen, trying to blend into the shadows. And then, a servant girl pointed at him. "You were with Jesus of Galilee," she said. Panic shot through Peter's veins. If they recognized him, would they arrest him too? Would they kill him? "I don't know what you're talking about," he muttered, shaking his head. A little while later, another person looked at him closely. "This man was with Jesus of Nazareth," they insisted. Peter's heart pounded. His palms were sweating. "I swear," he said more forcefully, "I don't know the man." Then, a third time, someone spoke. "Surely you are one of them. Your accent gives you away." Peter, now desperate, his fear overwhelming him, did something unthinkable. He cursed and shouted, "I swear to you, I don't know him." And then, a sound pierced the night. The rooster crowed. Peter's breath caught in his throat. He turned, and across the courtyard, through the crowd, he saw Jesus looking at him. A look not of anger, not of condemnation, but of sorrow. And Peter remembered. Jesus had told him, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." The weight of his words crushed him. He had not just denied Jesus, he had denied himself, his faith, his purpose. Peter fled, tears streaming down his face. But Peter's story didn't end in failure. Because even though words can wound, even though words can betray, they can also redeem. After Jesus' resurrection, Peter was given the chance to undo his denial, not by erasing it, but by confessing love in its place. 3 times, Jesus asked him, "Do you love me?" And 3 times Peter answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." It was a reminder that even when we speak words we regret, even when we fail, there is grace. But the lesson remains. Solomon's wisdom, Moses' downfall, Peter's denial, all point to the same truth. Words don't just reflect what is inside us. They shape our future. One moment of wisdom can reveal the truth. One moment of anger can cost us everything. One moment of fear can make us betray what we love most. So before you speak, before you react, before you let emotions dictate your words, pause. Because words, once spoken, can never be taken back, and they hold the power of life and death. The consequences of thoughtless speech. Words are a double-edged sword. They can uplift, encourage, and heal, but they can also cut, wound, and destroy. Yet, so often we treat them lightly. We speak without thinking, without considering the weight of what we say. A single reckless sentence can break a friendship, damage a reputation, or even alter the course of someone's life. How many relationships have crumbled because of careless words spoken in anger? How many opportunities have been lost because someone said the wrong thing at the wrong time? How many people have been emotionally scarred because of something that was said to them years, even decades, ago? Words are not just sounds. They are powerful forces that shape reality. And when we fail to control them, the consequences can be devastating. Words can destroy relationships faster than a fire. A single argument, one heated exchange, and suddenly years of friendship or trust are gone. How many times have we seen relationships, whether romantic, familial, or professional, shattered by words that should have never been spoken? Imagine a couple in the middle of a disagreement. It starts over something small, but frustration builds. One person, overwhelmed with emotion, shouts, "You never listen to me." The other, feeling attacked, fires back, "Maybe I don't listen because you never say anything worth hearing." At that moment, the argument is no longer about the original issue. It has turned into something much deeper, something personal. And the wounds caused by those words may take far longer to heal than the disagreement itself. How often do children grow up believing they are not good enough because of a single sentence spoken by a frustrated parent? "Why can't you be more like your brother? You'll never amount to anything." Words like these don't just disappear. They take root in a person's heart and shape their self-perception for years to come. The Bible warns us, "The tongue has the power of life and death." Proverbs 18 verse 21. Yet, despite this warning, we often speak as if our words are harmless. But they are not. They have the power to break hearts, to tear down trust, to sever connections that took years to build. One reckless sentence can cost you everything. Beyond relationships, uncontrolled words can also destroy careers and opportunities in an instant. Picture a hard-working employee who has spent years proving their worth. One day, during a tense meeting, frustration gets the best of them. Without thinking, they mutter under their breath, "This is the dumbest idea I've ever heard." Unfortunately, their boss hears it. The damage is done. And just like that, their professional reputation takes a hit that may never fully recover. Or consider someone at a job interview. They want to show personality, to be engaging, so they crack a joke. But the joke is inappropriate. The interviewer's smile fades, and suddenly, they know, they have ruined their chances in one careless moment. And then there are the public figures, the celebrities, athletes, and politicians, who have lost everything over something they said. One offensive comment in an interview. One insensitive remark on social media. One leaked recording of them speaking in a way they never expected to be heard. And just like that, years of success crumble overnight. James 3 verse 5 says, "The tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts." Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. That spark can be one ill-timed joke, one arrogant remark, one emotional outburst. So before speaking, ask yourself, is this worth losing everything over? The silent killer. The words you speak to yourself. Not all damaging words are spoken to others. Some of the most destructive sentences are the ones we say to ourselves. We might not think that self-talk matters, but it does. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," I always fail, or nothing ever works out for me, then you are programming your mind to believe those things. Your brain is like fertile soil. Whatever words you plant will grow. If you feed yourself negativity, don't be surprised when your confidence, your peace, and even your success start to wither. Proverbs 23 verse 7 says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." If you want to change your life, start by changing the way you speak to yourself. Instead of saying, "I'll never succeed," say, "With God's help, I can do all things." Instead of, "I'm not smart enough," say, "God gives wisdom to those who ask." Your words shape your reality. Make sure you are shaping something good. Words in the digital age. The internet never forgets. Now, let's talk about the most dangerous battleground for reckless words: social media. In the past, if you said something foolish, maybe a few people heard it. You could apologize, move on, and most likely, people would forget. But today, one wrong tweet, one offensive comment, one viral video, and your words can follow you for life. It doesn't matter if it was 10 years ago. It doesn't matter if you've changed. The internet never forgets. Every day, people lose jobs, relationships, and reputations over something they posted in a moment of frustration or thoughtlessness. And in an era of cancel culture, public opinion can turn against someone in an instant. Social media gives people false courage. They type things they would never dare say to someone's face. They insult, argue, and attack, hiding behind a screen, forgetting that their words still carry real consequences. Jesus warned, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak. Matthew 12 verse 36. That includes tweets. That includes Facebook posts. That includes Instagram captions. Before posting anything, ask yourself, would I be okay if these words followed me for the rest of my life? If the answer is no, delete it. Speak wisely, or regret it later. Words are powerful. They can build or destroy, heal or wound, open doors or close them. Before you speak, whether in a conversation, in an argument, or online, pause. Ask yourself, will this strengthen or destroy my relationships? Will this open doors or close them? Will I regret saying this tomorrow? Because once those words are spoken, they cannot be undone. And just because you have the right to say something, doesn't mean it's the right thing to say. Words can bless instead of curse. Words have the power to destroy, but they also have the power to build, to heal, and to bless. The same tongue that can wound can also uplift. The same voice that can tear down can restore. The Bible teaches that words are not just tools for communication. They are instruments that shape destinies, bring healing, and even unlock divine favor. If careless words can ruin a life, then intentional, life-giving words can transform one. How often do we underestimate the power of speaking blessings over ourselves and others? In a world where negativity spreads faster than truth, where criticism is louder than encouragement, choosing to use words as a force for good is not just an act of kindness, it is an act of wisdom. Using words to uplift and encourage. Throughout the Bible, we see that God Himself speaks life into existence. Genesis tells us that when the earth was formless and empty, God spoke light into being. His words created order out of chaos, beauty out of nothingness. And because we are made in His image, our words, too, carry power. One of the clearest examples of this is found in the story of Jesus and Peter. Peter, a fisherman with a history of impulsive behavior, was far from perfect. Yet, when Jesus looked at him, He didn't just see a fisherman, He saw a leader. Instead of calling him by his birth name, Simon, Jesus renamed him Peter, meaning rock, declaring that he would be the foundation upon which the church would be built. At that moment, Jesus did not speak to who Peter was, He spoke to who Peter could become. He spoke life into Peter's future. And despite Peter's later failures, including denying Jesus 3 times, he ultimately became exactly what Jesus declared him to be, a pillar of the early church. How often do we do this for others? How often do we look past someone's flaws and call out the potential in them? What if, instead of reminding people of their failures, we reminded them of their worth? In Proverbs 16 verse 24 it says, "Gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones." The right words, spoken at the right time, can be life-changing. Encouraging someone costs nothing, yet it can leave an impact that lasts a lifetime. Speaking the truth in love. Some people believe that speaking harshly is justified as long as they are telling the truth. They say things like, "I'm just being honest," or "I call it like I see it," without considering how their words affect others. But truth without love is like a weapon. It may be accurate, but it wounds rather than heals. Jesus was the embodiment of truth, yet he never used it to crush people. Instead, he used it to restore them. When the woman caught in adultery was brought before him, the religious leaders expected Jesus to condemn her. Instead, he spoke words that brought both conviction and grace. He told her, "Go and sin no more," but he also made it clear that he did not condemn her. This is how truth should be spoken, with love, with wisdom, and with the intent to restore, not to destroy. Ephesians 4 verse 15 reminds us to speak the truth in love. This means our words should not only be truthful but also kind. Correction, when given with gentleness, builds trust. Criticism, when delivered with grace, leads to growth. There is a way to tell someone they are wrong without making them feel worthless. There is a way to point out a mistake without crushing someone's spirit. Imagine a mentor speaking to a young person who has just failed at something. They could say, "That was a terrible decision. You're never going to succeed if you keep doing things this way." Or they could say, "I know this didn't go as planned, but I see potential in you. Let's figure out how to improve next time." Both statements acknowledge the mistake, but one leaves the person feeling hopeless while the other inspires them to do better. If our goal is truly to help others, then the way we speak matters as much as what we say. The power of blessings to change destinies. One of the most overlooked truths in Scripture is that blessings and curses are spoken. Words are not just expressions of thought, they are declarations that shape the future. In the Bible, fathers would bless their children, speaking over them words that would define their destinies. A powerful example of this is Jacob and Esau. Isaac, their father, had only one primary blessing to give. When Jacob received it instead of Esau, it altered the course of their lives forever. This was not just a symbolic gesture. Isaac's words carried real power. In modern times, we often fail to recognize how speaking blessings can impact someone's life. Consider two children raised in different households. One child constantly hears, "You are smart, you are strong, you will do great things." The other hears, "You're a failure, you're always causing problems, you'll never be successful." Which child do you think will grow up more confident? Which will have a greater chance at success? Words shape identity. They plant seeds that grow over time. But this principle doesn't just apply to parents and children, it applies to all of us. Think about how often we curse our own lives without realizing it. We say things like, "I'll never get out of this situation. I'm always going to struggle. I'm just not lucky." And then we wonder why things never change. What if instead, we began to speak blessings over our own lives? What if instead of "I'll never succeed," we said, "God has a plan for my life, and I will walk in His favor"? What if instead of "Nothing ever works out for me," we said, "All things work together for my good"? The Bible tells us that life and death are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18 verse 21. We can choose to speak life. And when we do, everything changes. Choose to be a voice of blessing. Every day, we have a choice. We can use our words to tear down, or we can use them to build up. We can spread negativity, or we can speak life. Encourage someone today. Tell them what they are doing well. Speak truth, but do it with love. And most importantly, begin blessing your own life with the words you speak. Because words are not just sounds. They are seeds. And what you plant with your words today is what you will harvest tomorrow. 3 steps to controlling your words with Solomon's wisdom. Words are one of the most powerful forces in the world. They can bring life or destruction, build or break relationships, open doors of opportunity or shut them forever. Yet, so often, we speak without thinking, letting emotions take over before wisdom has a chance to step in. Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, understood this truth deeply. In Proverbs 10 verse 19 he warned, "When words are many, transgression is not lacking, but whoever restrains his lips is prudent. In other words, the more we talk without thinking, the more likely we are to say something we regret. So how do we control our words? How do we make sure that what comes out of our mouths brings blessing instead of harm? Solomon's wisdom gives us 3 practical steps. Step 1. Control your emotions before you speak. One of the biggest reasons we say things we regret is because we react emotionally instead of responding wisely. When we're angry, frustrated, or hurt, our words tend to be sharper, harsher, and more destructive. Imagine this scenario. You're in an argument with someone. Your heart is pounding, your face is hot, and your mind is racing with 100 things you want to say. In that moment, the temptation to lash out is overwhelming. But Solomon gives us this piece of wisdom in Proverbs 29 verse 11. A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. What's the difference between a fool and a wise person? The fool speaks everything they feel without thinking. The wise person pauses and chooses their words carefully. One of the simplest and most effective ways to control your words is this. Pause for 10 seconds before responding in anger. This may sound simple, but it is powerful. That brief pause gives you time to think, to calm down, and to ask yourself, do I really want to say this? Will I regret this later? More often than not, those 10 seconds will save you from saying something you can never take back. Even Jesus demonstrated this principle. When he was accused, mocked, and insulted, he didn't retaliate with angry words. In Matthew 27 verses 12 to 14, as he stood before his accusers, he remained silent. He understood that not every word deserved a response, and not every battle needed to be fought with speech. So the next time you feel emotions rising, pause. Take a breath. Let wisdom have a chance to guide your response before your words cause damage you never intended. Step 2. Filtering your words through 3 questions. Even after we learn to control our emotions, it's not enough to simply avoid saying harmful things. True wisdom, as Solomon teaches, is about making sure that every word we speak brings value. Every conversation, every statement, and even every casual comment has the potential to shape relationships, influence lives, and determine outcomes. So before you speak, ask yourself these 3 questions. Is it true? In an age where misinformation spreads faster than truth, we must be careful not to repeat things that are false, exaggerated, or based on assumptions. Have you ever repeated something you heard, only to later find out it wasn't true? A small rumor, a twisted fact, or even an innocent exaggeration can cause real harm. Proverbs 12 verse 22 warns us, "The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy." When we speak, our words should reflect honesty and integrity. Gossip and half-truths may seem harmless in the moment, but they have the power to destroy reputations, sever friendships, and create deep wounds. If we are about to say something, we must first ensure that it is accurate. Because once false words are spoken, they take on a life of their own, spreading far beyond our control. Before you speak, pause and ask, is this really true? Or am I just assuming, guessing, or exaggerating? Is it necessary? Just because something is true doesn't mean it needs to be said. Some truths, when spoken out of turn or without wisdom, do more harm than good. Proverbs 17 verse 28 tells us, "Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent." How many times have we spoken simply because we felt the need to fill the silence? Or because we wanted to prove a point, even when our words weren't truly helpful? Before speaking, ask yourself, will saying this actually help the situation, or am I just speaking to hear my own voice? There are moments when silence is more powerful than speech. There are times when keeping a thought to yourself is an act of wisdom. Choosing to remain silent instead of adding unnecessary words can prevent arguments, misunderstandings, and regret. Is it spoken in love? Even when something is true and necessary, the way we say it matters just as much as the words themselves. Truth, when spoken without love, can wound just as deeply as a lie. Ephesians 4 verse 15 instructs us to speak the truth in love. Correction should never be about making someone feel small. Criticism should never be about proving superiority. There is a way to tell someone they are wrong without crushing their spirit. There is a way to guide without condemning. Imagine you see a friend making a mistake. You have two choices. One, you could bluntly say, "You're doing that completely wrong. You always mess things up." Two, or you could say, "I see what you're trying to do. Can I offer a suggestion that might make it easier?" Both statements address the same issue, but one builds trust while the other creates defensiveness. One offers guidance while the other causes shame. If our words are truly meant to help, they must come from a place of love. Now, imagine how different our relationships would be if every word had to pass through these three filters. There would be fewer misunderstandings, fewer regrets, and more peace in our lives and the lives of those around us. Step 3. Using words to build and bless. If words have the power to destroy, they also have the power to heal. Solomon didn't just warn us about the dangers of reckless speech. He also taught us how to use words to uplift, encourage, and bless. Proverbs 16 verse 24 tells us, "Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body." Our words should bring life, not destruction. They should strengthen, not weaken. So instead of using words to criticize, we should use them to encourage others. A single word of encouragement can change someone's entire day. A simple statement like, "I believe in you," or "You're doing a great job," can give someone the motivation to keep going. Think about the people in your life who have spoken encouragement over you. Maybe a teacher who told you that you had potential. A friend who reminded you of your worth. A family member who supported you when you doubted yourself. Now ask yourself, how often do you do the same for others? Solomon reminds us that words are a powerful tool for good. Encouragement costs nothing, but it can leave an impact that lasts a lifetime. Speak blessings over yourself and others. In the Bible, blessings were not just well wishes, they were spoken declarations that had real power. Fathers blessed their children. Leaders blessed their people. Jesus spoke blessings over his disciples. We can do the same today. Instead of saying, "I'm always going to struggle," say, "God is guiding my steps." Instead of telling a child, "You'll never learn," say, "You are growing and improving every day." Our words shape reality. If we constantly speak defeat, we will live in defeat. But if we speak faith, if we declare truth, if we speak life, we will begin to see real change. Choose to bring peace, not conflict. Proverbs 15 verse 1 says, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." We live in a world where people are quick to argue, quick to insult, and quick to tear each other down. But Solomon tells us that a gentle response has the power to diffuse tension. The next time someone speaks to you in anger, try responding with calmness instead of matching their intensity. You'll be surprised how often a soft word can stop an argument before it even begins. If we practiced using our words to bless instead of curse, to bring peace instead of division, we would see transformation. Not just in our own lives, but in the world around us. Now that we've explored the power of words and the wisdom of Solomon, I want to challenge you. Try spending just one day speaking only words of love, encouragement, and positivity. Pay attention to what changes. Do your conversations become more meaningful? Do your relationships improve? Does your mind feel lighter, more at peace? Personally, when I began practicing these principles, not just from the Bible, but also inspired by Stoic philosophy, my entire perspective shifted. In the past, I often reacted impulsively, speaking out of frustration or emotion, only to regret it later. But when I started controlling my speech, choosing my words carefully, and responding with intention rather than impulse, my world changed. Conversations became deeper, conflicts were reduced, and most importantly, I felt an inner peace that I had never experienced before. So I invite you to take this challenge. Just one day. One day where you consciously choose to speak life instead of destruction. And if you notice a difference, keep going. Make it a habit. If this message has impacted you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You never know whose life you might change with just one simple act of kindness. Let's pray together. Lord, we come before you, humbled by the power you have given our words. Help us to use them wisely, to bring healing, encouragement, and truth. Teach us to control our tongues, to speak with love, and to honor you in all that we say. May our words be a source of life, not destruction. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for watching. If you found value in this message, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss more life-changing wisdom. See you in the next video.